Right, can we please get back on this ruddy horse? Hello and what's going on, friends? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan, and as always, my dear sweet viewer / listener, I'm so delighted to have you here and I hope you're doing well. I really do hope that Chelsea are playing Bournemouth away, the Cherries, who, they're in a little bit of a funk, it has to be said, but so are Chelsea after that harrowing display and result away at Elland Road. Maresca has spoken about regrets and decisions as we look ahead to more Premier League action in today's video / audio, because now Football Therapy is available on all podcast platforms. Some of you have always wanted the ability to listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and indeed all good podcast platforms, and now you can. Simply search Football Therapy Podcast on said platforms, and please do follow and give me a 5-star rating. That really does help me out. Go, especially on Spotify, go and give us 5 stars on Spotify. That's kind of you. And in the meantime, while you're here on YouTube, why not like and subscribe and all that lovely supportive stuff that I do really genuinely appreciate. And in today's video, I will talk about Bournemouth. I'll talk about the players that Chelsea need to play to make sure we stay firmly in this Champions League race. And of course, it will be a tough game despite Bournemouth's form. And we will react to what Maresca said about his regrets. Very interesting comments there. But in the meantime, take just a moment of your time and listen to this. Life is so much better when you've got a virtual private network. And this video is brought to you by my partner Surfshark, who is the best VPN provider out there. Remember, gang, a VPN works by moving your internet's location elsewhere, which is so important in this modern age. Surfshark has so many different servers in so many different countries and is so easy to use. I'm very grateful to have partnered up with Surfshark for such a long time now, because increasingly the internet is becoming a dangerous place. So many big companies are being hacked and lots of people's information has become vulnerable, but when you have Surfshark, you are safe. While utilizing a VPN, you are protected by the digital pirates, the internet baddies, and most importantly, you can browse in total privacy. Wow, important. Not just internet security, while utilizing a VPN like Surfshark, you can open up whole new albums of media, that's right, new entertainment, super simple, just hop over to a desired destination, a bit like going on holiday, but takes a millisecond. Once the internet thinks you are in said location, you can have a whole new media library opened up to you through different streaming services across the world. Incredible scenes. Security, privacy, and more entertainment. What else do you need? Fortunately for you, because you're a viewer of my channel, you can get an additional 4 months free when you use my code FOOTBALL on Surfshark. That's right, use my code FOOTBALL on Surfshark or go to www.surfshark.com/football to utilize this incredible deal. I'll drop a link in the top of the description as well. Go check it out. A big thank you to Surfshark. Righty-ho, let's get into it and speak about Maresca's pre-match press conference. Maresca calling out players, talking about his regret. Bobby Vincent writes the following. So Maresca has just completed his pre-match press conference ahead, of course, our clash with Bournemouth this weekend. The Blues go down to the Vitality Stadium on Saturday afternoon, looking for the perfect response to being beaten at Leeds. Yuck. On Wednesday night, Maresca has been previewing the fixture in his press conference, and below is the full transcript from Cobham. Games are coming thick and fast, guys, so before we read on, obviously I don't need to remind you of the context, but Chelsea are coming off a horrendously disappointing performance against Leeds United, a 3-1 battering away at Elland Road. It was horrendous scenes. It kept me up all night. I had to take sleeping tablets to finally knock myself out. Don't endorse that. That's just what happened with me. I often ruminate, laying in bed thinking, why is Chelsea doing this to me? What have I done to deserve this? But credit to Leeds, they certainly deserve the 3 points. I think John Terry you know, he did like a social media update, TikTok or an Instagram reel where he explained it well. But still, we look forward, as we always do in the world of football. So let's see what Maresca said to certain questions. When asked if anyone is missing tomorrow, Maresca explained how it's just Caicedo because he, of course, is still suspended. But we don't have any new injuries. He was then asked about Romeo Lavia. When's he going to return? The young Belgian midfield maestro. That's my words, not the journalist's words. But he does say it's a muscular problem and we don't know when he will be back. When pushed, asking, look, is it a long-term or short-term injury for Lavia? Maresca says, we don't know. Now, guys, I have to comment quickly on Romeo Lavia because he is a really excellent player. I know it's boring now when players are absent and me talking about how good they are. It's like you don't want to hear it. Trust me, when I was banging on about how much I love Wesley Fofana while he was out for like a year and a half or however long it felt, people were giving me jip going, Jan, shut up. I don't want to hear about this guy who simply doesn't exist. Like I always joke, he's become sort of Schrodinger's footballer. Is he even going to play for us? We're kind of very much in the same situation with Romeo Lavia. He is an amazing footballer. You know, Chelsea and Liverpool were battling out for him. He cost £57 million despite being a teenager. And he makes Chelsea better in certain game states. And of course, we could really do with him now. But my word, this is really the fact how they just don't even know what's going on with him. We thought he was back. He thought he was back. Chelsea thought he was back. But no, he's gone, and they don't know when he's going to return, and it's becoming mental. And Maresca doesn't know what's going on, so it's doubly mental. I don't know what else to say. Let's move on. Maresca was asked how the players reacted after the defeat and if he shouted at them. He said, since the end of the game, I didn't see the players because we came back from Leeds yesterday afternoon and I will see the players in a while. And we're going to have time just to focus on tomorrow's game because then we have less than 24 hours. We have another game. This is really interesting because I don't know if he's a disciplinarian. And of course, we have the youngest squad and the youngest average starting 11 in the Premier League. What do you do with that? Do you think, well, they're all children, they need to be disciplined, they need to be told, you know? They need a firm hand. Or is it the opposite? They're a bunch of kids. It's not like you've got the glory golden era, you know, of like JT and Lampard and Drogba and Balek, where you could just shout at them and Mourinho would ignore JT for weeks on end when he was injured. He just wouldn't speak to him and get inside his head. You know, maybe you just don't do that now. Is it better not to be angry with them and just be like, let's move forward, let's move on? I mean, you don't need to tell these Chelsea players that that was an absolutely unacceptable, you know, result against Leeds. I made a joke about how, you know, chewing gum takes 4 years to leave your system if you accidentally swallow it. I kind of feel like a 3-1 loss away at Ellen Road is going to be like chewing gum for me. It's not going to leave my system for 4 years, you know? And even then it will still remain. It will just become anecdotal and less painful. Yucky, mate. Right. What else? Surely you have to look back and ask some questions of your players, Maresca, he was asked. And Maresca said this, yes, I just said I didn't see the players yesterday, but I wish to come back for sure. We did many things, but probably we also paid the bill to play 1 hour with 10 players against Arsenal. We also probably paid the bill. At least people are paying bills here. It's better to pay your bills than not people. In terms of Leeds away, probably in some way we can be more complicated than the previous game. Bit of broken English here. And as I said, we watched the game and there are things for sure that we need to avoid in the future. Can I just say at this point, intervene here? I have great concerns about Chelsea coming up against back fives. Look, I'm not the first person to say it. Chelsea fans, journalists, analysts, and indeed other Chelsea content creators are talking about this back five kryptonite for Chelsea. I think more than ever, teams like that aren't, I don't know, Arsenal and other maybe superpowers will look at what Leeds did to Chelsea and be like, yeah, back five, and they got no clue. Of course, context is key. We rotated a lot and had perhaps, you know, the teams started that played against Barcelona and Arsenal were in full fitness. You know, we just simply wouldn't have lost that game. Heck, you throw in Reece James and Caicedo into that game fully fit with the rest of the players starting. Even with those centre-backs that, you know, played in a bit of a fraudulent fashion, I still think we win. Anyway, let's keep going. Maresca was asked about how rotation is potentially costing him, and he says this: most of the rotation we do is because of the other ones cannot play. So we have players that are, in this moment, not able to play every 3 days. And the reason why most of the rotation we have done in the past is for this. It's for this reason. This is why. When you pick 11 players and you win, everything is fine. When you pick 11 players and you don't win, there is always a reason why, for sure. Again, I think we play with 10 men for at least 1 hour, and of course 3 days to go to Leeds. It's not the best situation for us, but in the future, this case happens, we need to be better. Yeah, man, you can make all the excuses you want, and fine, I can concede to some. You know, Barcelona, a big emotional game. Arsenal, 10 men, lots of running, big emotional game. Go away to Leeds. I do think it was unhelpful for Chelsea that this was a 8:15 p.m. kickoff under the lights at Ellen Road. We really could have done with a midday, you know, a 12:30, so the atmosphere wouldn't have been as raucous. But Maresca is at fault, as well as the players. He'll learn, hopefully, that you don't stick 18-year-old Estevao away at a fixture like a physical fixture like that with that atmosphere. I wouldn't have started him. I didn't put him in my pre-match, predicted squad. So I think that was a mistake from Maresca, and hopefully he'll learn that, you know, playing certain players. Chalabar's been in great form at playing in the left centre back. Moving him into the right back role, dumb, I think. And, Tosin's been poor. You guys have seen the stats. His performance, the goals we concede when he's in the side now is a lot. I know he had good moments last season, and I don't regret us signing him on a free transfer, but I'm starting to think, no matter what, if it's a Premier League or Champions League game, that he's just not good enough. Put him in the cups, bring him off the bench if you're trying to see out a win, but starting him, we just don't have the chemistry and the relationships with a Tosin and another player. Maybe he also fell victim a little bit to not having Caicedo in front of him, the general back line being mixed around so that it's not as harmonious as normal. And I'm not one for digging out players, you know, I like Tosin generally, but I'm starting to think not good enough. He was asked, Maresca, is the lack of leadership costing you? And he said, no, it's not that. I love having a young squad. I love young players, and I'm delighted with the players that I have. And he was asked about how come, this is the question, by the way, the question I want answers for. So I'm so pleased this question was put to the Chelsea manager. How come Joshua Champong didn't play against Leeds? One of the regrets I have after the game is I didn't play with Josh. So the reason why we played with Trev, Tosin and Benoit is because analysing them, we saw most of the time they were playing long ball for Calvert-Lewin, for Nemcha. I think that's how you say it. And so we prefer physicality to win aerial duels, but even with that, we lost most of them. Yes, freaking basketball height, Tosin Adarabioyo couldn't win a header. Yeah, this for me is probably the biggest disgrace of that game, because Joshua Champong, whenever he's been playing, we know Maresca trusts him because he's played him in like loads of different positions, right centre back, left centre back. I think he's probably played the right back role. We've played him in central defensive midfield. Clearly positionally versatile and therefore trusted by the manager. We chuck him in for this game. I mean, this, if there's one thing, hopefully, you know, touch wood, fingers crossed, that we've learned is Maresca's like, right, mistake, these men suck balls. Apologise for the, I'm not swearing, of course I don't swear on the channel, but crude comments every now and again. I should play Josh, basically. He talks about how much he really loves Josh. Now's the time to show it. Not only are, you praised his performances, you've rued the missed chance to play him and, the mistake of not playing him and leaving him out. You've had every, telling sort of signifier, if that makes sense. You don't need any more signs. Play Joshua Champong in these particular games when you don't, say, have Wesley Fofana, Levi Colwill, or Trev on the left. Do you know what I mean? Play Josh. Play Josh, and I'm glad he came out and spoke about regret, because yes, I also regret the fact that you didn't play him. There's a little bit more talking about young players. He was asked about rotation again and again and again. Rotation, of course, is the prevailing narrative of Chelsea at the moment, or at least Chelsea when we fail, we don't live up to our standards. Well, they're rotating a lot. Why are they rotating? And of course, that's the issue. Had we had the fit team that played Barcelona and Arsenal, we beat Leeds. And there's no talk about failure and rotation, and of course being a young team. We miss Caicedo, that's huge. Of course, we've got to learn to play without Caicedo. In the same way we successfully learned to play without Cole Palmer, we can do it without Moises Caicedo. I think if you have a midfield of Reece James and Santos, you're gonna be okay, personally. but we didn't have that available. He was also asked about, Estevao Willian being targeted, and do you need to bring in more sort of experienced players? He speaks about, no, we've got Tosin, did he play good, and stuff like that. Tosin is the experienced player. He's basically defending young player FC Enzo Maresca, and I don't hate it. We generally, as football fans, when your manager, when your club trusts younger players, it's a good thing. It's exciting. You see academy players come through. You buy young superstars like Cole Palmer and Estevao Willian and Andre Santos, and then you trust the likes of Joshua Champong in theory to play, which he hasn't, but he's listed here as a big regret. I don't know. I think will Chelsea sign experienced players? Maybe, but the truth is, by the end of the season, next season, Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo will be in their mid-20s. Sanchez, who's been playing well, even in that game, will be in his late 20s. I'm personally not looking to Tosin as a senior player to be on the pitch, but Reece James is 25, 26. The team will get older. There's so much experience that will bring leadership. So I feel a little bit better hearing him talk, but of course the proof will be in the pudding, or the eating as it were. So let's talk about this upcoming game, and let's look at Bournemouth. So Bournemouth are in a bit of a funk. They're winless in a few games, actually. Last time out, losing at home 1-0 to David Moyes' Everton, which is, of course, we're going to their gaff as well this week in the Vitality Stadium. So for those listening on Spotify, I'm showing the lineup now. It's a 4-2-3-1 from Andoni Iraola. It's funny, isn't it? Like, a lot of these Maresca outers keep sort of referencing Andoni Iraola, like, bring him in, he's there on the phone, not actually looking how Bournemouth have been losing loads of games, or they're winless in many games. So yeah, he's not necessarily having the best time. We're certainly in better form than Bournemouth, but they played a 4-2-3-1, of course. Chelsea old man Petrovic in goal, or ex-Chelsea man, should I say. Good players, of course, Cliver, Semenyo, Krupi, the new lad who's come up top, has been playing well. Tyler Adams, we were linked to him briefly, the American midfielder. So yeah, they got beat. They got beat, even though they had perhaps, I'll say, more possession, but they were outshot by Everton. They are not in a good form, but does that make me feel confident? No, because we also recently went away to a team, lower league opposition, that weren't in good form, and we got absolutely slapped by them. So I'm taking nothing for granted when we go away to Bournemouth to play them, and I have the fear. We need to respect them. We need to expect, Semenyo putting on a masterclass, Cliver suddenly having one of his good games, and of course, naturally, Georgi Petrovic turning into prime Manuel Neuer in goal, because that's how the narrative worked, guys. This is, we've seen this before. So Chelsea need to be on top of their game, and I, of course, have built a lineup for this match. I'm going to present it to you in just a second, but I must tell you, this is a lineup that I want, rather than perhaps I totally expect to see. So bear that in mind as we take a look now. Right! So, this is what I've gone with. Like I always say, it's listed primarily as a 4-2-3-1, but of course, in our possession, it's a different shape. It's just an easier way to present the players. Of course, we have the impenetrable, or actually rather penetrable, Robert Sanchez in goal. Is that inappropriate terminology? Let's move on. I'm going with Marc Cucurella at left back, because who else? I don't think he was particularly good last time out, but here we go. Malo Gusto comes back into the lineup to play as a right back, and my boy, Wesley Fofana. And actually, in the same way, you look at the stats when Tosin plays, we concede lots of goals. When Fofana plays, we don't. So Wesley Fofana returns to the lineup as a right centre-back, and my word, does he need to return to the lineup. If Trev Chalobah passes fitness tests, he will go back to his left centre-back role, where he has been playing well with Fofana, developing chemistry. And similarly, importantly, bringing back Gusto and Fofana, I'm bringing back Captain Reece James into the midfield, especially in the continued absence of Moises Caicedo. Santos, I actually think, was one of the few players that did okay in the game against Leeds, and of course we know he's a good player. I think he'd benefit massively from being in the midfield next to Chelsea's captain Reece James. Now, the rest is tricky, yeah? Because you have to kind of start Enzo Fernandez if you pass fitness test, Chelsea's vice-captain, and I think actually when both Reece James and Enzo Fernandez are on the pitch together, the double captains, we play much better. So therefore, I'm completing a midfield three with Enzo Fernandez there. And yes, so the front attackers, the 3 attackers, left, right, and forward, I have gone pretty rogue here, guys. Firstly, not rogue on the left. I'm going Alejandro Garnacho, who should be rested and good to go. He came off the bench against Leeds, and Maresca said he played well, so I think he'll start. But I'm not going with Delap, who I don't think's been awful. He's been doing some good centre-forward stuff. I'm not going for Joao Pedro, who I genuinely think's been awful recently. I'm going for false 9 Pedro Neto up top. And that means there's 1 space left on the right, and I'm not going to go Estevao. I think he's played a lot better off the bench recently. I'm going for Cole Palmer. Now, it's important to note, I don't think Cole Palmer's a right winger. I know a lot of people enjoyed his time there under Mauricio Pochettino on the right, but towards the end, when he was scoring loads, he was actually on the inside because Noni was also playing. So I'm going for Cole Palmer, and actually what I expect to see happening here is Cole Palmer playing in the right pocket. Essentially, I think Cucurella might tuck in, Gusto might get forwards, and Palmer will be in the right pocket. Enzo Fernandez will be in the left pocket. That's the way I want to see it. So Gusto will get forward, Cucurella will tuck in, and therefore you end up with a box midfield. And that box midfield, of course, will be Santos and James and Fernandez and Palmer, with the width being held by Garnacho and Gusto, and a little false 9 Pedro Neto to run all over the gaff and press the Bournemouth back line. Now, substitute appearances, of course, would be from the likes of Estevao, you know, to come up against tired legs, probably for Cole Palmer, who's, I reckon, good for 60 minutes, his first start back, say a 60-minute outing, and then, you know, swap with Estevao. I know we want to see them both on the pitch together, and we may do, but that's just my choice for the moment. And of course, I think Liam Delap deserves a substitute appearance, and for me, Joao Pedro can just ride the bench. He's been dismal for a long time. Like Joao Pedro, I think he'll come back into form, but he is a flaky player. He always has been. He's still young enough to iron that out of his career and become more consistent, so I'm hoping for that. So, what do you guys think? What do you think of my desired lineup, yeah? The lineup that I want. Do you agree? Do you think there should be changes? What do you think is going to happen? I am going to predict a Chelsea win. Although I think we'll be more resolute and defensive, in defense rather, because of players coming back in. In the absence of Caicedo, I still think maybe we're not going to be flawless. I'm going to go for a 3-1 away win for Chelsea. You know, another good result, sort of hoping to keep... Again, my title... My title? No titles for me, sadly, in the Premier League. My target is 75 points for Chelsea. That's what I think Chelsea should be aiming for. Get to 75 points while playing Champions League football, and that would represent huge progress as this young team develops and just inevitably grows older. So 3-1 away win for me. Let me know your thoughts, feelings, and opinions down in the comment section. Thank you as always for liking and subscribing. And if you are listening on podcast apps, please do follow and rate it 5 stars. I know you can do it on Spotify 5 stars. I'm assuming you can give good ratings on Apple Podcasts and all the other platforms. If you do want to, you know, help your boy out, that's the way to do it, you know. Get your family members to follow and 5-star. That's really nice of you. And genuinely do check out Surfshark because it's dope. I use it every day and I'm so delighted to be partnered with them. Everyone should have a VPN. And of course, if you use my code FOOTBALL, you get 4 months free, which is great. Surfshark, superb. All right, man. I hope you enjoy the football. I'll be here every ruddy day. So see you back here soon, mate. Peace.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me, baby.